Good afternoon, I'm Alan Unell, and this series of videos is Healthcare Advocacy, where we address problems in the healthcare system and take actions to try and make a better system for all of us. Today, we're going to be talking about maternal care and rural healthcare and how they're not going together quite so well. Before I get into it, let me point out that down below in the description box is a link to the Healthcare Advocacy newsletter, and it'll have all the hyperlinks for all the studies and news stories and research and actions, everything. And we have lots of other resources in there related to reproductive health and advocacy and democracy advocacy, a whole bunch of things. Feel free to subscribe to the Healthcare Advocacy newsletter. It is free. This is my free retirement job. Okay, let's talk about rural healthcare. It turns out that more than half the nation's rural hospitals don't offer maternity care. That is just shocking. Challenging economics and labor shortages force more rural facilities to stop providing labor and delivery. You can read that as this is not profitable. Hospitals have been increasingly scaling back or cutting maternity services for financial reasons, while demand for obstetrics care rises, partly because so many states have put bans on abortion. This is all reported in Axios, and again in the newsletter there will be a link to that story. The Axios story highlighted that the percentage of rural hospitals without maternal services was huge. I mentioned 55%. That's nationwide. It turns out that some states are way beyond it. Florida is 86%. In more than 10 states, more than 2/3 of the rural hospitals don't have any maternal care, according to a new report from the Center for Healthcare Quality and Payment Reform. That report, and there's of course a link to that study in the newsletter below. That report also found that while patients in most urban areas can reach labor and delivery in less than 20 minutes, rural patients have to travel 30 minutes or more. And the longer the time to get to services, the higher the likelihood of maternal and infant death. Actually, I wrote a report on this subject maybe 2 weeks ago, and I think one study found that if you're going 40 minutes or more, you're increasing significantly the reduce of maternal and infant death. It is just horrible. Not having access to maternity care is dangerous, and it's a shameful condition. It is evidence of a healthcare system that is using health care to generate income instead of being a system designed to just foster good health outcomes. Look, a large part of rural America has no access to maternal health care services. We've stated that in some states, more than 80% of the hospitals have no maternal services, and 55% of the rural hospitals, such care is completely absent. The result is that maternal and infant care suffers. Now look, if there was a team of professionals in every region of the country who could identify shortfalls in service and who had the resources available to fix those shortfalls, like maternal health care, we wouldn't have to talk about any of this. Good news. H.R. 3421, the Greatly Improved Medicare for All Act, has such an authority in place. I want to refer you to Section 403 for regional authority, Section 611 for global budgets for hospitals and networks to cover their infrastructure costs, and Section 601 for a complete review of what the budget would consist of. In the links down in that newsletter, I have a link to the Congress website, congress.gov, and the text of the bill, and you can just go look up those paragraphs and see it for yourself. But here's what we have to do. Most of our Congress people and senators, they have no idea. The bill is 100 pages long. I bet they haven't read it. Let's let them know. So here's the action. Because the lack of maternal services in America is disgraceful and dangerous, we need to call our representatives in Congress and our senators and let them know about it. Now, down below in the description box, there's a link and you can get their phone numbers and emails, or on your cell phone, you can just send a text message to 50409, 50409, and here's what you send. Sign, S-I-G-N, space, PPLINN. And this is the email that you'll send. I'll read it to you. I'm your constituent, and I just learned that 55% of rural hospitals have no maternal care services. The services have been removed because they're not a viable profit center. This forces women to drive farther and longer to get care that increases the likelihood of complications and death for the pregnant person and the baby. None of us deserve that increased risk. If there were a team of medical professionals in each region of the country who could identify the shortfalls in service and who had the resources to fix it, those shortages, like maternal health care, wouldn't be there and we wouldn't have to talk about it. Good news, H.R. 3421, the greatly improved Medicare for All Act, has such an authority in place. I refer you to Section 403 for regional authority, Section 611 for global budgets and for hospitals and networks, and Section 601 for the review of the overall budget for universal health care. Now, what I did do is I listed the entire link to the text of the bill at congress.gov. So if you email this to your representatives, they can just go click on it and read it. Or someone on their staff can read it. I strongly urge you to get this universal health care bill, H.R. 3421, passed to give rural women the care they need and deserve. Thank you. Let's talk about some other subjects. Abortion in North Dakota. Doctors still at risk. According to an AP story, and of course that link is in the newsletter, a North Dakota judge ruled on Tuesday that he's not going to block a part of a state law that doctor says puts them at risk of prosecution if they perform an abortion to save a patient's life or health. State District Judge Bruce Romanek said the request for a preliminary injunction is not appropriate. Can you get that? Not appropriate to save a life. And the plaintiffs have presented no authority for the court to grant specific relief. The lawsuit continues to play out with a jury trial set for August. How many women are going to die before August? Okay, next one, abortion trafficking in Tennessee. The Tennessee legislature introduced a bill on Monday that targets adults who take minors out of the state to have an abortion. The bill says that an adult who recruits, harbors, or transports a pregnant, unemancipated minor within the state for the purpose of aiding them in getting access to actions that constitute criminal abortion under Tennessee law commits the offense of abortion trafficking of a minor, despite where the action occurs. I include a link to the story. It's in the Hill. I think that this bill also applies to parents. Isn't that charming? Idaho has such a law already. We've seen similar laws locally in Texas, where no matter what your age is, it's illegal to use certain public roadways to help someone get an abortion. Indiana and Ohio have pursued criminal proceedings regarding abortion where a minor was concerned. I don't have an action for this, but we're gonna. Hold on. Let's end today with good news. COVID-19 good news. There was a report in Time magazine that indicates that our immune systems may be getting smarter every time we encounter COVID-19. This is from a new study in South Korea. After getting vaccinated and infected, the immune system generates broader defenses against the virus, including against new variants. Researchers in South Korea looked at the immune cells in the lab from people with a variety of vaccine and infection histories throughout the different Omicron waves, which began in late 2021 with BA1. People who had been vaccinated with the original Pfizer-BioNTech series and then got infected with any Omicron variant showed good levels of memory immune cells, those are the T cells, that defended not only against the variants causing the infection, but they also defended against infection from Omicron family variants that came later that they had no idea about. So that means they were able to learn. Given the current suite of COVID mutations, it seems that for now, the combination of vaccines and natural infections is creating sort of a hybrid immunity that seems to be keeping the virus under control for vaccinated people. Side message, get vaccinated. So this is evidence, not proof, but evidence that we are well on our way to this becoming an endemic condition. God, I hope so. Kind of like flu. Okay, that's what I've got for you today. At least that was a happy story. Down below, like, share, subscribe. You can click on the link for Healthcare Advocacy way at the bottom, and it'll take you to a web page of hundreds of articles, and you can subscribe for free. If you want a topic addressed, you can put it in the comments section or shoot me an email at healthcareadvocacy1, all one word, @gmail.com. Okay, have a good evening. We'll talk later.